There comes a moment when a nation stops asking for a seat at the table and builds the table itself. You see, power was never meant to be begged for. It was meant to be earned. And today, as the U.S. is silenced, the world watches India rise, not as a shadow of someone else's greatness, but as a light of its own. This is JAISHANKAR'S final strike, and this is how greatness is forged. Diplomacy is not about pleasing everyone, it's about standing for something. When we think of diplomacy, we often imagine soft words spoken behind closed doors, firm handshakes exchanged under the flash of cameras, and agreements written in language so delicate it seems to float above the paper. But beneath that calm surface lies a truth many fail to understand. Real diplomacy is not the art of saying yes to everyone, nor is it the endless game of compromise at any cost. It is the quiet strength of conviction, the courage to draw lines where they must be drawn, and the wisdom to know which principles are worth defending even when the world disapproves. For far too long, nations have believed that success on the global stage depends on being liked, on appearing agreeable, on being seen as a player everyone can call their friend. But history shows us otherwise. The greatest diplomats have never been those who pandered to every interest or tried to smooth over every conflict by conceding what was theirs to protect. They have been those who understood that in the end, a nation without a backbone is a nation without a future. A diplomat without values is no more than a messenger. Look at the way small powers in history tried to survive by being everything to everyone, only to find themselves devoured by the ambitions of others. They thought that by appeasing one empire, they could buy security. By flattering another, they could gain favor. But such diplomacy only delayed the inevitable. When the winds of power shift, those who stand for nothing are the first to be swept away. Standing for something, however, is not easy. It often means standing alone. It means telling powerful nations what they don't want to hear. It means making decisions that may bring short-term pain in exchange for long-term dignity. A diplomat who stands for something must sometimes watch his country endure sanctions, criticism, or even isolation, yet keep his head high, knowing that what he defends is greater than himself. This kind of diplomacy requires vision. It means knowing your own country's interests deeply enough to defend them without apology. It means knowing your own culture, your own history, your own people so well that you can articulate to the world why you will not compromise them. The diplomat who stands for something does not sit at the table hoping to please everyone. He sits there to make sure his nation is not erased by the wishes of others. And yet, standing for something is not the same as being reckless. It is not about arrogance or needless defiance. The diplomat who stands for something knows when to bend and when to refuse. He knows when words can achieve more than weapons and when silence speaks louder than noise. He understands that pleasing everyone is impossible, and trying to do so only weakens him. The moment you try to be everything to everyone, you betray the very people you represent. When a diplomat enters a negotiation, every nation at the table already has a plan, a set of goals, a line they will not cross. The weak believe they must give up their lines to keep the peace. But the strong know that true peace can only exist when all parties understand where you stand. When your principles are clear, your allies respect you more. Even your adversaries respect you more. Clarity earns respect, and respect earns influence. Consider a nation that always tries to say yes, to smooth over every disagreement, to avoid conflict at all costs. At first, the world may call it polite, cooperative, even wise, but over time, others come to see it as soft, malleable, and weak. And soon its wishes no longer matter at all. On the other hand, a nation that stands for something, that sets clear red lines and holds to them, may provoke anger at first, but over time, even its enemies come to see it as a force to be reckoned with. This is the essence of strong diplomacy, the quiet, patient insistence that principles matter. It is easy to be liked when you agree with everyone. It is much harder to be respected when you refuse to compromise what cannot be compromised. Yet it is respect, not popularity, that builds lasting power. When a nation stands for something, it inspires its people. The citizens see their leaders holding firm on issues that matter, and they feel pride. They feel ownership. They feel that their identity is not being sold for cheap applause abroad. And that sense of unity strengthens a nation from within, making it harder to break from without. Pleasing everyone is impossible. And even if it were possible, it will leave you hollow. At some point, a diplomat must decide what his country stands for, what values define it, what goals it will never give up, no matter the cost. Those who lack that clarity will find themselves constantly pushed, pulled, and used by others. But those who know what they stand for will find themselves unshaken. Diplomacy is about building bridges, yes, but it is also about knowing which bridges you must never cross and which you must never allow others to tear down. The temptation to please everyone is strong because it feels easier, but in the end, it is the path of least resistance and the path of least respect. Silence your critics by delivering results, not excuses. In this world, no matter what you do, someone will always have something to say. The higher you climb, the louder the voices of doubt, the sharper the criticism, and the more people will question your every move. That is the nature of success. It attracts not just admiration, but also envy, skepticism, and resistance. And yet, there is one language your critics cannot argue with: results. Because when the evidence is undeniable, the noise around you begins to fade into irrelevance. Far too many people spend their lives responding to criticism with words. They defend, they explain, they justify. They write long statements, they offer apologies, they try to reason with those who never intended to understand them in the first place. But the truth is, no amount of explaining can ever replace the power of achievement. Excuses may feel comforting in the moment, but they do nothing to change the outcome. Every excuse you give is just another inch of ground you surrender to doubt. There is a simple rule the great leaders and visionaries understand. You don't have to convince people of your worth. You just have to show them. Critics thrive when you engage them on their terms, when you let their negativity shape your story. But when you focus on delivering, when you produce results so clear and so undeniable, their words begin to sound hollow even to themselves. They can try to talk over you, but they cannot talk over what you. When you deliver results, the conversation changes. People stop asking if you're capable and start asking how you did it. They stop doubting and start taking notice. They stop resisting and start respecting. Because the harshest critic cannot deny what stands before them. The building is there. The success is there. The victory is there. And delivering results doesn't always mean winning on the grandest stage. Sometimes it means quietly proving people wrong, step by step, until they no longer have anything left to say. The person who doubted you yesterday might never admit you were right, but they will stop doubting tomorrow, because results don't require permission. They don't wait for approval. They simply exist, undeniable and final. When you meet criticism with excuses, You hand your power over to your critics. You validate their doubts by showing them you're more concerned with their opinions than with your mission. But when you meet criticism with success, you take that power back. Every step forward, every milestone achieved, every goal reached becomes a shield against their words. It's easy to fall into the trap of wanting to be understood, of wanting everyone to see the intention behind what you do. But the reality is, not everyone will care about your intentions. They care about outcomes. They care about what you produce, what you create, what you prove. That is why excuses fail and results win. Delivering results requires discipline. It means working when no one is watching, when the critics are at their loudest, when the temptation to stop and explain yourself feels overwhelming. It means having the patience to let your actions speak for you. Results do not come overnight, and that is what makes them powerful. Because when they finally arrive, they carry the weight of all the silent work that built them. The world remembers those who achieve, not those who explain. No one builds a statue for someone who tried to justify failure. They build statues for those who succeeded despite every reason not to. Results cut through the noise. They silence not just your critics, but also your own doubts. Because when you deliver, you prove not only to others, but to yourself that you are capable. And that quiet confidence, that unshakable belief born from action, becomes the foundation for everything you build next. The next time criticism comes, and it always does, resist the urge to answer with excuses. Channel that energy into your work. Let the results you produce become your voice, your proof, your answer. Because while excuses may win you sympathy, results will earn you respect. And respect lasts longer. Every empire falls when it underestimates the resolve of the quiet. Power has a way of blinding those who hold it. The higher an empire rises, the more it begins to believe in its own invincibility. It starts to see silence as weakness, patience as submission, and humility as fear. The quiet ones, those who endure without complaint, to nod without argument, to step aside without protest, are seen as insignificant. But history is full of lessons written in the ashes of empires that made the fatal mistake of ignoring the quiet. The quiet endure because they must. They measure their strength not by how loudly they can speak, but by how long they can stand. They are dismissed, overlooked, taken for granted. Their silence becomes invisible to the powerful, who mistake it for permission. And so the empire grows arrogant. It stops listening. It stops watching. It convinces itself that those who do not resist, but silence is not surrender. Silence is gathering. It is learning. It is waiting. Every insult endured, every injustice suffered, every opportunity denied is quietly added to a ledger deep in the heart of the quiet. They do not shout their anger, but they carry it. They do not wave banners, but they remember. And when the time comes, they rise not with noise, but with certainty. Empires always underestimate resolve, because resolve is invisible until it is not. The resolve of the quiet is forged in the long nights when no one is watching, in the small acts of defiance no one notices. It builds slowly, like water carving through stone. It does not announce itself, yet it is unstoppable once it begins to move. The quiet know how to endure because they have been forced to. And when endurance becomes resolve, it becomes something no empire can crush. The powerful can break armies, crush rebellions, silence voices, but they cannot kill resolve. because resolve lives in the mind. And once the quiet decide to act, the empire finds itself facing an enemy it can neither see nor predict. Throughout history, the most powerful regimes fell not to foreign armies, but to the very people they ruled. They fell not because of overwhelming force, but because of the quiet determination of those they had ignored. The Roman Empire, the British Raj, the Soviet Union, all believed they could outlast the quiet. All believed patience was weakness. All fell. What the powerful forget is that noise is easy. Anger is easy, but resolve is hard. Resolve takes time, it takes sacrifice, and by the time it is ready, the quiet have already won the most important battle, the battle within themselves. The quiet are dangerous because they have nothing left to lose. They have already endured the worst, and they have already decided that no matter the cost, they will stand. That is when the empire begins to crack, when it realizes that fear no longer works, that punishment no longer works. Empires are loud. They announce their victories, their conquests, their greatness. They thrive on being seen and heard. But they forget that not everyone who is quiet has been defeated. Some are just waiting for the right moment to strike. And when they do, the fall is swift. Silence is not absence. It is not agreement. It is not defeat. It is the quiet sharpening of resolve, the steady preparation of will, the patient gathering of strength. Every empire that forgets this lesson writes its own downfall, because when the quiet finally speak, they do so not with words, but with action. Real power is not given. It is taken by those who dare. From the beginning of time, power has never truly been a gift. It is not handed over willingly by those who hold it, nor is it found lying unguarded, waiting for someone to simply reach out and claim it. Power is contested. It is fought for. It is wrestled away from those who would rather keep it for themselves. The world does not reward the timid. It does not crown those who wait politely in line. Real power belongs to those who dare to reach beyond what they are told they can have and take it. We must act as if this is our true gift and take it. Those who sit and hope to be chosen will watch others rise above them. Those who wait to be invited to the table will find the seats already full. Because power is not a favor, it is a force. It is not granted as a reward for patience or politeness. It is seized by those bold enough to believe they deserve it. Every generation is told the same lie, that if you work hard and follow the rules, power will come to you. But history tells a different story. The ones who reshape nations, who build empires, who change the course of human destiny are not those who merely follow the rules. They are the ones who dare to break them when they stand in the way of progress. They do not wait for permission, because they understand that permission is just another form of control. Those who dare do not fear being called arrogant. They do not fear being misunderstood. They do not waste time waiting for others to see their worth. Instead, they move boldly, decisively, because they know the truth. No one will hand you what you truly deserve. You must take it for yourself. Taking power requires courage. It means stepping into spaces where you are not wanted. It means risking failure, ridicule, and sometimes even your safety. But the alternative, staying where you are, living within the limits others set for you, is far worse. The dare to claim what is yours is what separates the forgotten from the remembered. You can see it in the smallest of battles. A worker demanding a fair wage when everyone else stays silent. A leader challenging a stronger rival in the name of what is right. A nation standing up against an empire. Power is never given in these moments. It is taken. One act of courage at a time. The powerful are not superhuman. They are not inherently more deserving. They simply dared when others hesitated. They dared to believe they could stand against the current. They dared to push when others stood still. They dared to act when others only talked. And those who hold power understand this better than anyone. That is why they try so hard to convince you to wait, to be patient, to let them decide when you are ready, because they know the truth, that if enough people dare to take what is theirs, the entire structure comes down. Real power changes hands not because someone decides it's your turn, but because you decide you can no longer wait. That is why every movement that changed the world began with someone who refused to wait to be given anything. They took the first step. They claimed what was theirs. The ones who dare understand something vital, that there will never be a perfect moment, a perfect opportunity, a perfect set of conditions where everyone applauds your rise. If you wait for that, you'll wait forever. Power belongs to those who create their own moment, who see the cracks in the wall and push until it falls. Those who dare know they will not be loved by everyone. They know they will be feared, criticized, resisted, but they also know that none of that matters if they succeed, because in the end, the world does not remember the ones who waited. It remembers the ones who dared